I'm just going to do some editing on my computer while you talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair
I'll be finished in a moment.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. And in fact, hello, Ian, Matt. Hello, Ian. Ian's backstage. Hello, Ian. Well, he's not backstage. He's not backstage because he's anyway. I don't know how that works. Hang on, see if I can find him. Where are you, Ian? Oh, there he is. There he is. Well, he was hiding. He was hiding in the background. Hello, mate. How are you?
It's got audio problems again. He hasn't pushed his button. And the problem is he doesn't know if it's playing or not, if it's mute or not.
Oh, yeah.
Talking, but I can't hear. No, Ian, you're not making any noise, mate.
The sign language version.
So Ian's going to learn sign language for the next.
Here we go. It was OBS. I've had a weird thing happen on my PC, and all of my settings for microphones have gone completely. Well, everything has gone wrong, and it's causing me havoc editing videos as well. So I tell you what I did, Bruce. Do you know what triggered it, Bruce? This other thing. I updated Resolve.
Did you? Oh, I never do that.
Yeah, well, I've had to because I've done something silly. Well, actually, I didn't have to, but I've done something silly. I've bought a new laptop, and I'm waiting for it to come, but I wanted the same version on both, basically. And I thought I'll update the PC version, and then when the computer comes, I'll have the same version, and it'll all be nice. And ever since then, it's been chaos.
Have you done the weather? Are you normally weatherproof? And you do the weather hardening test, don't you, with laptops? I
do try to. Yeah, I'm hoping not to leave this one outside, bearing in mind how much I've spent on it. But I have. Oh, what was that? Lights, power.
There's lights and power. Yeah. So I'll put on the PC, and the PC will catch up in the morning. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you catch up in the morning. What am I talking about? I'm busy getting my rebreather ready for diving. I know who that LinkedIn user is. That must be Callum, I reckon. Hello there, Callum. And he's going to join us again in the future after Uncle Bruce was rather mean about him, I thought, considering he's been a guest that we've previously had on the show. I mean, come on. Merry Christmas, one and all. Why did I mention regulations this time in the thumbnail and stuff like that? It's because I see Australia as well is now gathering or gaining a compliance app for model aircraft flying. And I must admit, I've got to wonder, how much more can model aircraft really comply, and why do they need these compliance apps? I'm a little bit worried. I think Matt Canada still hasn't actually admitted, I don't think, has it, that there's a ban on flying, but it has been published in other places.
Is my audio working?
No.
Bugger.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know what to do. What to say to him then? Oh, he's gone. Oh,
so you're going to have to say something controversial. I thought that meant.
Oh, well, there we are. That's him gone. Well, there we are. We've very, very upset him. I wonder if he'll be back. Yeah, no. So these apps for model aircraft flying, I don't see why there's a rush to have them. And I was looking through some 1930s. Oh, here we are. He's going to come back. Let's see. Is he going to come back?
I'm afraid I've returned.
You have.
It's like the bad Terminator.
Yeah.
I'll be back.
I'll be back, but silent.
Yeah, no. I was just saying these apps. I'm not sure why model aircraft associations are allowing themselves to be drawn in. I've seen another one that wants to jump into bed with the BMFA. There's another one in Australia. I'm not sure where this is coming from, and somehow to me this feels like a bigger threat to the hobby than we've seen in a long time. It really does.
Do we not think this? Sorry, you carry on.
Our Australian friends have registration starting next year.
Oh, is that next year?
For recreational drones, yeah, sometime next year, I think it is. Last time, I think it was like $5 a drone or something they were mooting, something like that. I don't know.
Yes,
I
it was a big sum of money, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was each airframe as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So will they strike a deal with whatever the Australian model flying body is. Seems to be the way they go. They give a concession by striking a deal. If you're a member of this organization, then you won't have to have registration. You can fly it out at their approved fields and stuff. It's a SOP. It's not, because now these model flying bodies don't represent the majority of the hobby anymore. The hobby's changed since the 1960s. Most people flying models these days are not members of clubs.
And I said it last week, but it is such a shame. It's such a shame that it's a missed opportunity by traditional clubs to pull people into the hobby, because many people will go out, buy their DJI X, Y, or Z, or their Autel X, Y, and Z, and think, well, this is quite interesting, and would like to come back into the traditional hobby. And it's a missed opportunity. I noticed in that update to the Mac Canada story from that other website, the only other website that's there publishing about it, that they're saying there's only 9,000 members of Mac. And if that's the case, then really,
it's not much, is it?
Airspace users, it's not a very representative body, is it? Or am I being too mean?
No, look at the AMA in America. They've got 200,000 members. Yet, how many registrations did they get? 1 million registrations through the FAA? That's not even. That's a fifth of the registered users. Then you got the ones that aren't registered. So it's a tiny fraction of the number of people that are using this airspace belong to these supposedly representative bodies.
It's just such a shame.
Do we think it is interesting that thought that again how these bodies have gained so much power to be able to legislate or discuss on behalf of the average user, because the reality is very few of these bodies represent the average user. Very few of them, in the UK, I'd largely argue that the BMFA, a large proportion of fixed wing flyers, close to zero real drone flyers, yet they were the ones given some sort of support and help. And it's very interesting in it how they've, regardless if they're doing the right and wrong things, they've lobbied themselves into a position of power. Now, whether that power is actually going to do them any favors in the end is another question, but they've definitely done it.
Yeah, but look at Canada. We can hold up Canada now and as an example of just what happens if it's not all done properly, and what lobbying for that power has created. It's created the means by which your regulator can switch you off as a unit. There must have to be some rules and regulations. We've got to be careful. But what do you personally qualify as a model aircraft? Fixed wing, bolted Yeah, I would. I think we have to do have to differentiate a little bit multi-rotor drones from the traditional hobby. I don't know.
Not multi-rotor drones, GPS-assisted multi-rotor drones, because freestyle drones, they're hardly even use the airspace. Most of the time, well below 50 feet, cruising around trees and buildings and things. They're not really in the same category as your Mavic and your Mavic Mini, going right up to the 400-foot limit and trying to get pictures in strange places. In fact, they are the least dangerous users of all, is the freestyle multi-rotor users, because most of them are pretty good pilots. We won't count Ian, but most of them are pretty good pilots, and they tend to fly out of the way.
And actually, Bruce, you could fairly argue that there's more chance of a FPV person causing a person damage, and then there's more chance of a sort of camera drone causing physical damage. They're very different use cases, aren't they? There's more chance of an FPV drone hitting a person at low level than a Mavic. There's much more chance of a Mavic hitting an aircraft at 200 feet than there is an FPV quad, because they're just not in those same areas of space. Yet we have one level of legislation that covers them all.
Well, also, if you look at all the FPV freestyle videos, they're usually done well away from people, in deserted locations, mainly because as soon as people come, they get kicked out. But I mean, if you're flying a Bando or something else, it's called abandoned for a reason. There's nobody there. So, and most freestylers are actually quite safety conscious. It's quite amazing when you think about it, because the impression is they're a bunch of tearaways. But most of them are very safety conscious. That's why we haven't seen a proliferation of people being hit by freestyle drones.
No, it's only the surprise person that's ever really going to catch them out, isn't it? The guy who just appears the person who just appears out of nowhere. That's the only ever. But as you say, most
Yeah,
of
but
the
even they're pretty uncommon. You know, I mean, you're more likely to get hit on the head with a Mavic at a music concert.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Mark.
really about the people turning out. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, birthday Mark. Birthday
Or a
Mark.
balloon, or a balloon that he was flying.
Yeah, I was saying, if it was me, you're more likely to get hit by a big inflatable thing falling out of the sky if I'm around.
It's more about people that society is turning out general people actually enforcing its kind of stuff, standing up against it. Well, it is a multifaceted problem, I suppose. And Callum is in the comments from the regulator's point of view, and I know his bit's very much not to do with the 722 debacle that's just happened. But that, what do I want to say? I want to say that
The problem is we have too much over-regulation. The rules should be a lot simpler. It's too hard to understand now what you can and cannot do. There's too many categories. It's just crazy. And
Well, Mark, you're right, because let's face it, even the regulator got confused in the UK recently and didn't know their own rules, got them contradictory. If the regulator can't keep track of what the rules are and what they say to the point where they don't contradict themselves, that's a very, very clear sign that the over-regulation is rampant.
and it would, to me, it looks like they're breaching the regulation code of conduct, where regulation should be clear and concise so that everyone can understand it. And if the regulator can't get it right, at that point there's a massive failure. And it doesn't matter where that failure was. Was it in the management signing it off or not? It's kind of regardless. There was a massive cascade failure area. Swiss cheese model, that should never have happened. And it's just crazy now. I've never seen it so bad. I remember the rules in 2010, 2011, 2000, all the way to now, how it's changed. And it's just enough to make your brain want to explode.
What's going to be super interesting in the UK is electric scooters.
Yes.
Because they are illegal, technically, to use on the road. There has been a number of fatalities.
Yes.
There has been a fair number of incidents with public, bystanders, and vehicles. There has been young people actually killed by them. There's been some pretty nasty incidents by anyone's calculation. Yet it looks like they're going to be going ahead legal, and I fully agree they should. I'm not against. I think it's madness that it's an argument, but what it will be super interesting is to see the justification for this, because you have all this legislation on drones, yet we've not had an incident. There's no deaths. There's no nothing. Yet we're going to have something which is known to be dangerous. Yet they're going to have to legalize it, because I don't see how they can't. I don't see how they're going to police it. Are they going to force people to have insurance? How do you change that from a push bike? How do you change an electric scooter from
push
a push
bikes?
bike?
111 people died in 2021 in the UK riding, or as a result of push bike use, bicycle use.
Yeah.
So there's proven over 100 deaths a year as a result of bicycle use. They don't have to be registered. You don't have to sit a knowledge exam. There's no conspicuity on them, no non-number plates or anything, and that's accepted. We say, that's fine, the bicycles. But you get a drone, a little 250-gram foam model of a Piper Cub. Oh, we've got to have all those things. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Oh, hey, look, there's two Garys. What's going on? Another angle.
Should be one now.
I think that's the sign of the end of the
That
world.
threw me off.
Garys.
Yeah, so we got this. Again, the regulation is not proportionate to risk, and that's all I ask as someone who's crusading for the hobby is make the regulations proportional to the risk. And we've had a lot of what ifs when these things, when the camera drones first came out. What if they knock down an airplane? What if they do this? What if they do that? Well, we've had over 10 years to look at the data. We have historical data now, which shows the risk has been completely overblown. So now it's time to bring those rules back into line with the actual proven, historically evidenced risk that is associated with these things. And if they don't do that, then they won't get compliance. Because if you make the rules so ridiculous, people just go not interested.
Do we think the rules have been put there because of safety, or do we think the rules have actually been, and I mean from a government point of view, or do we think they simply don't know how to monetize this? They want to do this in such a way that they think that there's a big cash cow here. There are players who feel there's a big cash cow, but they just don't know how to do it yet. Therefore, they're just layering in as much regulation as they can to try and keep as many people out of it as they can.
Yeah. Initially, it was that safety. That really annoys me too, because they've been using this excuse, safety, which is all utter balderdash, excuse my French, because we've seen it's not about safety. But the fact they're still following down, and then they went to security. It's not about safety, it's about security now, because we need to protect the nation against bad actors, which is, again, rubbish, because I keep getting people throwing this thing at me saying, what if a drone drops an explosive in America or the UK? And I keep having to explain to them, that's not a drone problem, that's an explosives problem. Why aren't you properly regulating your explosives? Why aren't you enforcing that regulation? And, a drone without a bomb is just a drone, but a bomb without a drone is still a bomb. But this is it. So even security, and you've got cameras with long lenses, none of this stacks up. What's happened is they may have started out with the concept of it's all about safety, but what they've done since then is had their pockets lined by big wallets of companies that are very keen to do this. So I see Amazon have announced more cities they're doing drone deliveries in America today. They're doing more. And I'm thinking, this is only to justify an imposition of a UTM. They're never going to do this commercially. It's like Google are giving away drone deliveries because they'll be on that bandwagon too. Can they not see that we're not stupid? We can clearly see what's going on here. And for them to suggest it's about safety or security is an insult.
And the kicker is, it's like Bruce says, a bomb is still a bomb, regardless if it's dropped from a drone or not. It's actually easier to drive the car to where you want it, park it, and walk away. That's the scary bit. So the drone is never the problem, if you like. As you say, Bruce, it's the explosive part, and it's like safety. Mobility scooters, of course. So someone said, don't demonize scooters. We're not demonizing scooters, but mobility scooters have caused more injuries per year, and sadly things have happened because people ride them and they have crashed and people have been killed and stuff. But drones, yet still, since CAP 722 came out in the UK, the datrum for people deaths by commercial drone operation is still 0. The datrum point is still 0, and until there's just one death, sadly, there's not going to be that fixed point. Will the public accept one death in 20 years? Well, why not? We accept 88,000 deaths on bicycles every year. If you look at the figures, if you go out on your push bike in the UK, 1 in 88,000 on that day, chances are, is not going to come home. That's the sad truth. It's just, it's overcautious to such a degree, it's crazy.
Yep, and I noticed that they're now going to allocate some spectrum specifically for UAS in the UK.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, if this was about safety and security, why the hell have they been operating on ISM bands for so long?
And do you know what, right? What's really annoying is it's like saying about the cash cow. Everyone's trying to work out how they can make a bit of money. Ofcom's going to, these frequencies, blah, 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 and it's going to cost £75. Well, tell you what, Ofcom, you're behind the chuffing curve, right? People can already use these frequencies. They're already secure. Do what you want. Who cares, to be fair? Because
no, you'll care, because to fly your commercial operation, some of it will have to move into that band, and you're not using those bands at the moment. They're not talking about it's new space, so you will have to go, okay, it's just £75 and it's secure. Now, to be fair, as Bruce was alluding to, if you're using ISM bands, every time someone opens their garage door, there's potential for issues for you. That's the trouble with the ISM bands, because that is what they are.
That ISM band, its range is minuscule, because a garage door, don't take this the wrong way, right? By the way, if you want to really screw with people with ISM stuff, get that stuff, go into a car park, leave it powered on and walk away. Put it in a little car box, turn it all on, because they're all on the 433.
Are you listening, Ofcom?
If you want to be really mean to the world, just do that. Put a little box, battery powered, I think it's there's a 433 frequency a lot of car fobs use. Just leave
Yeah.
that in a car park and watch everyone not be able to lock or open their car doors, just for the sheer.
No, well, that's exactly how cars are stolen here. That's exactly what people do.
But the thing is, these drones are so dangerous. We have this mountain of regulation to control their use, where you can fly them, how close, all that sort of stuff. Yet we're saying they're not dangerous enough to have their own band. You can fly them on the same band as baby alarms and wireless cameras. That's fine. Again, the whole safety thing doesn't stack up, does it? And the reason they want to move to another spectrum is probably to provide a degree of safety, but also once you've got that spectrum allocated, certain types of drone use and classifications of drones will be subject to certification, and one of the requirements will be that it operates on that band and you have a license for that.
Yeah.
And of course, once you're using a small piece of spectrum, you're going to pay more for the gear. It's the wallets talking, just big wallets talking.
The question is, though, this new band, where's the support going to come from? It's all very well them allocating it, but someone's going to have to make equipment to work on it. It's not, it's all very well them issuing this band, but we have a long established RC. I do get why you'd want a dedicated band. It makes a lot of sense when you actually look at the amount of crap that runs on 2.4 now, and it's not even just mobile. It's not cordless phones, garage openers. It's most of the wireless CCTV systems that are out there now. The band has been blown apart, and we've got Wi-Fi systems using 300 megahertz wide channels on some of these things. You've got the new ultra fast Wi-Fi's, so I can see why it is. But then is the issue: who's going to make the equipment? The money wise, I think it's not a terrible thing, but it's a short-sighted approach when they don't even know who is going to make the equipment that works with this. The equipment, if they're talking 70 quid for the license, I bet you the radios are going to be $5,000 for the custom company's going to have to do it.
But
there's plenty of military. Well, there's plenty of military stuff off the shelf that you'd be able to repurpose to do that. That's made for. It's basically SDRs. So you tell the SDR, yes, please, let's have it like this. So there is plenty of gear that do it. And I would wager a lot of DJI gear would do it as well, because that's also SDRs.
Yeah, but remember, it's going to have to be approved by the spectrum regulator, and you know what certification involves, the costs involved in that. They turn a regular 12-volt battery into a $1,000 battery because it's certified for use in light aviation. So that's where a lot of the costs will come in.
And don't forget, I mean, even today, 2.4 gigahertz systems we use are very secure. They're very sophisticated. Channel hopping, it's not easy to hack any DJI product. It's not hard.
But you can deny service. You can't take control, but you can deny service just with them. You open the door on your microwave oven, jimmy the lock, and turn it in that general direction, power it up. You've got 600 to 1,000 watts of very noisy 2.4 that'll cover the entire spectrum, and it'll basically just desensitize the receiver to the point where the original signal won't get through.
Yeah, but that just means your return to home will kick in if set up correctly, and your aircraft will come back. I mean, the only thing that I've ever seen that's absolutely made my mind go, what the hell, is when I was flying a Phantom 4 Pro for some testing, and a company could inject a new home point to it. There's nothing worse than watching you get a new home point in your drone. They disconnect your drone and it flies off to where they want it. And it's like, what the, you don't believe the tech till you see it. And it's, I've only ever seen it done on the Phantom 4 Pro. They've never been able to do it on any other aircraft, but it's quite interesting.
Lightbridge it should work on probably the Inspire 2, Phantom 4 and the previous stuff, but there's a reason why DJI very quickly moved a lot of their stuff over to OcuSync. There was clearly something in the background going on, and the chances are the link was compromised. They knew it was compromised. It is hackable because there's no AES encryption on Lightbridge. It is encrypted in the sense of it's DJI's own protocol. So you can't just look at it and go, oh, I know what I'm going to do. But there's a way in, as you say, Mark, and that's the concern.
But for most systems now, most systems are fairly secure. You know what I mean? I would trust my Mavic Pro 2 not to get hacked, for example, because otherwise it'd be all over the web by now.
So, but you can see the point for protected. I can see the point for protected spectrum for certain use cases, but I will watch British Telecom, who's largely behind this, pushing this hard for every use case, and that's it's a little bit of a worry. It shouldn't affect the traditional hobby. It shouldn't affect people flying their DJI gear. It shouldn't. Let's hope. It could be Bruce's favourite thin end of the wedge.
Well, the M300 will come in a UK version with different frequencies.
That's the M300 that's 15 times more expensive than anywhere else in the world, because it's also going to have to comply with whatever the UK's testing standard for the airframe is.
What was the frequency that they were offering up? Was it? I
can't remember. Was it 2 point? Was it? Oh, it's below radar, wasn't it? They mentioned the radar.
I think it was somewhere about 3.6 gigs or something, but that was ages ago. I don't know what they're doing now.
It's a chunk off that you're going to have different antennas, is what I'm thinking, Bruce. Do you know what I mean? If it was, if you were to move up and down 2.4, 2.5 a bit, you probably could get away with somewhat not even retuning the antennas and just taking the performance hit. But
yeah, the spectrum's pretty full. I don't know where they're going to get it from. I mean, the spectrum is really crowded. Look at a spectrum map, and you'll see very few gaps. They're going to have to take it off someone else to give it to the drone flyers.
I mean, it's like, this is one of the good things is, I mean, one of the strange things as well, you get a lot of people saying, I've got a Mini 2, why can't it do 10 kilometers? Well, now they will know why you can't do 10 kilometers, because that 2.4 band is that jammed up that you can't actually see what's going on with the naked eye, what's going on with all the frequencies. In urban areas, you're never going to get 10 kilometers because of all the other junk that's reducing your distance.
Actually, I bet they take it off the hams. That's what they've been doing recently, stealing frequency from the ham bands to give to commercial operations. That hams are getting crowded out. Yeah. And wouldn't surprise me, because there is some ham space in 3.3 or 3.4 or something.
Here we go, 2.6. There's just there.
No transmission will be permitted in 2.6.
So lower than 2 for low power to 5 gigahertz. Oh, interestingly, there was a village that said they're not going to have a 5G masks in their village area. So all those people banging on about self-driving cars, 5G required for delivery drones, it made me laugh, because a rural village went, we're not having a 5G mask, end off.
I did see that one. They've all kicked off, haven't they?
It made me laugh so much.
So 14 gigs, the SATCOMs, that's gone in there. So that's what's that company called? Inmarsat. That must be Inmarsat leveraging that. 14.2.
They don't have the best reputation for reliable communications, I don't think. Thinking back to a missing plane.
Yeah.
Anyone remember MH370?
Yeah. Here we are. This is the sort of answer I should have known instantly. Here we go. Equipment to be used as VHF. That's normal.
But really, I suppose the argument now is, why would you choose a custom band over a fully encrypted link? Because congestion is the main reason, isn't it? You're going to want to be away from everything that's pushing out noise, but you're only going to want it for BV loss, really. This is only going to be for that stuff, isn't it?
So that's cell phone there, isn't it? Mobile network user.
And here's the crazy thing, right? Give it. So this goes to show how quick tech will move on as well, and you might agree or not. But let's take Elon's Starlink, for example. Right now, that's still new tech. But give that, say, 5 years, there'll be a low power version. It'll be powerable by batteries. You can stick it on top of a drone, so it could be on the top. And then you've got all your comms going up and down via the internet, via the satellites. Those frequencies and that Ofcom stuff just became pointless for BV loss, because you will literally just have a Starlink system talking to the internet straight up. Why would you have on a cargo drone? Why would you even bother with the Ofcom stuff? You just go, do you know what? Just stick a Starlink on it and just get on with it, and avoid all the problems. You could literally do that. I know
but there's supposed to be millions of drones coming, and Starlink doesn't have capacity.
But does it?
Maybe that's why Amazon's putting its drone cloud up, its constellation of drones. They were doing was it Blue Origin? Someone was doing one, in cahoots with Amazon. Maybe that's part of their UTM. They're going to have this. You'll have to use our link.
No, I'm not with that.
Musk's going to be using drones and Starlink to be able to have mobile Twitter. He won't need staff. Once he's sacked everyone, he's going to be using mobile Twitter bots.
AI is the win.
And it'll be okay that they've got a connection problem because Twitter will only have 5 users then. So it'll work very well. Yeah.
Well, is there 4 of them here?
I haven't been on for a while.
No, and they'll all be bots, AI bots, talking amongst themselves. Yeah, we'll all gone to mess.
Now, let's just roll back. Let's roll back up. Drone Beard said, and which is the correct qualification, or must be here. South Korea, those things failing to shoot down the five drones.
It's really hard to shoot down a little drone. Like a rifle, it's because of elevation, you've got to allow for the fact that there's less gravity operating the bullet, so your sights don't work if you elevate your barrel too much. Shotguns are only good for like 60, 70 meters, and if you're flying over at a couple of thousand feet, I mean, what are you going to do? Heat-seeking missiles, there's probably not enough heat signature of a electric or even a petrol-powered one for a heat-seeking missile. And who'd want to waste $250,000 missile on a $75 North Korean drone anyway?
Exactly. What was the actual threat from South Korea? The threat was non-existent. It was just North Korea dicking about with a few drones. If they had actually gone into South Korea and hit a city, then yes, that would have been very bad. But you don't have to shoot everything down in the sky. It doesn't.
Speaking of which, did you notice they painted it like blue sky color? That was quite clever, I thought. I haven't seen drones painted that color before, but stealth against a blue sky, it would blend in quite nicely.
No, pink. Pink's the color to paint them, actually, not blue or anything. You want a pink underside is what you're looking for.
Pink is a man's color.
It's a light pink.
Absolutely.
So back in the day in World War II, Spitfires, there was a load of pink ones painted up, and they were the camera ones because in a pink, they blend into the skyline. They're not that visible. They kind of disappear. You think you paint them blue, but no. You just paint.
I recognise that name. I recognise that name.
Which
even Richard, hope you're having a tremendous Christmas and all that sort of thing. I think just as Bruce says, just shows how hard it is to shoot down something that's slow moving, low level.
Yeah,
and
because we saw those soldiers
small.
trying to shoot down the Iranian drones that Russia are using, with the AK-47 shooting up in the sky, and they wouldn't have had much chance of hitting one either. I mean, it's hard enough to hit a manned aircraft with a rifle, let alone a toy one.
Yeah. And I know somebody's having their collar felt for fly. Maybe Richard will have the data from the eastern end of his corridor in Reading. There has been somebody's having their collar felt, or that they're being looked for by the police for flying around Windsor, which of course is a danger area. So unfortunately, somebody has unwrapped their Christmas present and perhaps gone flying. Sadly, I feel that's probably what's happened.
Yeah, they rang a commercial operator, didn't they? So they started with the people who are legitimate, which is what I've always said. If there was ever an incident down with me, and bearing in mind I live where there are 2 major gas installations and a massive oil refinery, in fact the largest oil refinery in the UK, one of them at least, they're going to knock on my door. And then, the irony is they start with the law-abiding, registered, not the where's the logic? Is it going to be the guy who's told us everything? Probably he's going to do something illegal.
I had a guy in one of my videos posted a thing saying, this remote ID will stop bad people, because if there's a drone appears with that remote ID, it will be able to be identified as a potential threat. And I said, yeah, but it's like anyone that's going to use a drone for a bad thing isn't going to fly it without remote ID, not going to fly it with their own remote ID. They're going to steal one and incriminate somebody else. They're like they do when they do a bank job. You steal a car and you use that. Yeah, so you're creating 2 crimes instead of 1.
How would you suspect a mad Welshman? Well, the way to find Ian, of course, is just to look for the smoke if he's out to be detected. You don't need remote ID. You just wait long enough and you'll set something on fire. I've seen a video today by somebody who, an American, talking about remote ID, saying it's for conspicuity for aircraft. I mean, come on.
It's so misunderstood. Even the FAA have said that at one stage, that, it gives pilots an opportunity to tell if there's drones, it'll help deconflict the airspace. It's not a deconfliction tool. It is simply, as they say, a license plate for drones.
It's a lie. What it is, it's a perpetual BS lie. That's all that keeps happening. Oh, manned aircraft can see it. No, they can't. You muppet, stop saying it.
And even more, I noticed nobody's been pinged. What is it? Horizon Hobbies are still selling plug and fly, ready to fly models without remote ID on their website. Not stopping.
There was
doesn't seem to care.
There was a huge amount of noise this week about iFlight have released or are about to release a new Cinewoop, which looks a lot like the Avata, Bruce, if you've seen it, the Defender 25. And everyone was jumping up and down, what's going to happen with this remote ID? And look, I just don't see the Chinese companies caring. I just think they'll just carry on as normal. And this whole talk initially about being able to sell without a receiver doesn't stand, because if you're selling a DJI product, it's got a receiver built in as standard. You can't actually take it out. O3 has receiving capabilities built in out the door, so you can't actually turn that off. But I just don't think they're going to bother. I think they'll just crack on the way they did before.
Yeah, it's only a precursor to the network remote ID anyway. They're not going to care until network remote ID comes in, because they can't monetize broadcast remote ID in that way. So it's just to get people used to the fact, you've got remote ID. See, it's been harmless. It's done nothing. You can still enjoy your hobby, but now we're doing network. I'm sorry, you're going to have to pay to arm. That's what's happening.
Well, the problem is,
here's Callum. You can't legislate against criminality for most parts or offences. Twice before flying somewhere they shouldn't. Are you sure, Callum? Are you sure?
No, I don't.
The problem is the bad element. The bad actors don't think once, let alone twice.
Yeah, you see, now it wouldn't make me think twice. If I wanted to be a bad actor, right, and I was going to be a complete and utter bad person, I know that if I wanted to, I could put get a little RID ID that transmits BS information from it. So I know I put a RID device on that transmits fake information. I'd chuck the drone and just walk away and let it do its thing, and I'll just watch the world freak out. Because
I posted, or I tweeted, twatted, whatever it's called, and I put Bruce in it earlier. There's a very good video from some lad in America who showed how he spoofs his DJI gear using an app that just spoofs his GPS position to move himself out of no-fly zones. And he's gone, oh, lordy, but look at this problem. Now it makes it look, for the remote ID part of it, it makes him look like he's flying like many, many blocks away. So flying very, very BV loss. So even the lad that's spoofing to the no-fly zones has realised the implication of remote ID and what he's doing, and that shows just like ADS bloody me. Excuse my French, and I've been drinking either. It just shows how easy these ill thought out and simple these systems are to defeat rant ends. But I've sent you a link if you want to join us, Richard. Rant ends. You're muted, mate. You're muted.
Now, the UTM thing
that's a good thing.
Came up, the one about UTMs, I mean, let's be honest, the best UTM systems, like Altitude Angels one, doesn't matter about RID. That will negate RID, because if it's in the corridor, they'll see it, and it'll just say, no, there's a drone there. It's not over there. Do you know what I mean? Their system will do like a double check on it.
Indoors.
And the thing is that everyone's talking about the bad actors and these people and the trouble it'll cause. Well, we've had 10 years. No deaths, no significant property damage, no significant injuries. Look at the historic data. It's like, well, the threat is nothing like what people are pursuing. Yes, it could happen. It might happen. But if you're going to live your life on the basis of, well, I can't do that because something really bad might happen, there's 1,000,000 to 1 odds against it. You'd never go out of your house. You'd never ride a bike. You'd never drive a car. And we just have to accept a level of risk. You can't kill a hobby just because people feel a little bit afraid because they're ignorant.
It'll be interesting to see the next couple of days, because you think how many kids, as I said earlier, with electric scooters, there was like a bike gang of them, right, going down my road yesterday. It was honestly, it was ridiculous. It was like a freaking Hell's Angels moving through on bloody electric scooters. But it's going to be interesting to see, look, how many incidents there's going to be in the next week, okay? Because there's going to be lots of new things, bikes, scooters, and all of this is out there. Yeah, how much of that will result in people freaking out, demanding change, wanting, these things to be banned. Reality is, people don't care about people dying. The reality is, no one really cares about people dying. If you cared about people dying, you'd stop smoking, number one. Number two, you'd ban a lot of the stuff. There are things that people do that if you're going to go down the road of public safety and health, there's some really easy things to do, right? We can stop obesity very quickly. Look, we all know that diabetes is a major killer in the UK. You could stop the sale of certain things. Look, it's all, if we want to really save lives, it's never about drones. It's never about that. There's a billion other things you can do first.
Let me play devil's advocate. The difference between diabetes and drones is that drones can kill other people. Diabetes will only kill you.
Yes, but I am a burden to society, though, Bruce.
Sorry, but that's a whole different. We know that. That's a whole different thing, isn't it? What was it Callum said? Go back to the problem statement. I don't quite understand, Callum. You said, remember, it is an acronym like UTM, which is very true, because they mean different things to different people as well. We've got Richard in the comments with we shouldn't have favourites, with our favourite UTM.
The problem statement is they're solving a problem. They're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist through the use of remote ID. If you look at all these things, the guy flew the drone over the stadium in America, whatever, he got caught. He had no remote ID as such. It was before remote ID came in. He got caught. Most of the people that have done bad things have been caught without remote ID. So do we really need extra ways to identify people? Because if most of them are using DJI drones, and most of the DJI drones appear on Aeroscope, you can track them back through the registered email address. You can find out who's flying it. Why do you need remote ID for a 250-gram model of a Piper Cub? I've never heard of anybody being imperiled, any property being endangered by a kid flying a 250-gram foam model of a Piper Cub. Why do they need remote ID? Explain me that.
And we should go, I'm going to go all the way back up to that brilliant comment earlier about the cricket, which people probably haven't, I've started saying it without finding it. But one of the South African players was smacked in the head by, there it is, by the wire cam yesterday. So yeah.
Spider cam.
Yeah.
How many cricketers have been hit by cricket balls and really disabled or even killed? I mean, but we don't have these restrictions, and the people in the stands get hit too. So why aren't we regulating cricket balls? They've proven to be a danger to the public, and once they leave the bat, they're totally out of control. We need to have them registered and remote ID and all sorts of crap, and people should stand behind glass walls, and it's just stupid. The safety claims do not stack up, and I'm calling out the regulators. They are lying, and you cannot expect people to comply with regulations that are based on lies.
Oh, that's a strong, to say they're lying is a strong, and Callum's a good example. You called him out, and yet he's one of your subscribers.
Yeah, I know. I didn't call Callum out. I called CAA out. Callum is the front man. I didn't actually criticize Callum. I just asked when the last time he flew BV-LOS was and how many times he'd flown BV-LOS. And since he's been a long time, I'm pretty sure Callum will have flown BV-LOS, as all FPVers do. But he's not in a position to admit that, because obviously he wears two hats. But that's the thing. It's overstated. If it was as risky as the regulators have said, there would be many, many deaths as a result of drone activities, because many, many people are not complying with the regulations. So where are the deaths? So they have lied to us about the scale of the risk. And if they weren't lying, where is the risk assessment to back it up? Now, if you want to do anything commercially with a drone, almost anywhere in the world, you've got to do a SORA risk assessment as part of your flight preparation. So the regulators acknowledge that risk assessments are critical to safety, yet they haven't done one to justify the restrictions they've put in through their regulations. Why is it one set of rules for you and another set for us? Just give us the risk assessment, independently peer-reviewed scientific risk assessment to back up your rules, and I'll be the first one to say, right, those rules make sense, let's comply. But until we get some honesty coming out of regulators, I'm going to challenge them on every step of the way. They're misleading us with false claims as to regards to safety, false claims regards to national security, and that's no basis to create a rule set on. And don't expect people to comply if your rules are based on fable and lies.
Yeah, I think it's right to question things. There's no doubt, or can be no doubt at all about that. And I guess we would expect our national bodies to be the people doing that and doing it properly, rather than just creating. What do I want to say? They're not looking far enough forward, are they? They're not looking for the problems. Oh, look out,
Well,
Louis.
the AMA said it best. We look out for our members, and that's fine. They do that.
Now with Louis here, we can talk about.
He's got a blurry piece of paper.
What has he got
Fantastic.
there? Yeah.
I don't know. It's that he's got the webcam doing the blurring background.
What have you got there? Merry Christmas, Louis, and tell us about your blurry bit of paper. Oh, he's muted. It's
a day for audio.
It's a day for audio.
Not working, Louis. Everyone's audio is no good today.
Yeah.
So
well, there we are. There's Louis' face. No, you're still not talking to us, mate.
Here's the thing about that thing that came up for BVLOS in the UK, wherever that just came up from. That BVLOS.
Yeah, from Callum. Yeah.
From Callum. The problem is, right, Channel Essential, you won't want any other way. Problem is, that's in a temporary danger area. So it has to have a TDA for all that to continue to happen. However, as soon as we get the superhighway from altitude danger, what we need is a PDRA, so we can just use the altitude angel, superhighway nice and easily.
Yeah, well, we all don't have a problem with that, do we?
Sorry, guys. I was busy applying stickers to my DJI.
We can't do that. Yeah, we can't do that here, Louis. We can't do that because the UK is backwards. Because the UK is so backwards.
So, what have you got? A kit from DJI, Louis?
Sticker kit. Yeah, it's like Go Faster Stripes, but just not as cool.
DJI Mavic 3 compliance, whatever.
For 83 dB. So that's.
So have you've done the firmware update then, Louis? Have you?
Yeah, obviously.
How does it? How does it feel? Is it much different?
Apart the locking of the lights, I don't see a big difference.
What do you mean?
Locking of the lights.
What happens with the lights?
Now you can. Before you could switch off and on the lights on the settings. Now the lights are not user changeable. So you have to fly.
Well, that's stopping the bomb dropping, isn't it?
Ah, God. Yeah, it's on the rules that you cannot drop stuff, pulverize, take pictures without permissions, everything to be done. So, but yeah, it's, and they even give you stickers to put on the box of the drone. So on the outside of the carton box, they give you stickers to put there. So they give you a V2.
I do have a question. I have a question, Louis. So that your sticker said, so your sticker said 83 decibels. What distance is 83 decibels from what? Is that
I don't care. I don't care.
No,
come on, it's the rules.
That's the RF, isn't it? That's the
so
RF, not the noise.
So they've issued a V2 sticker, just like they're putting on the label, because we've seen pictures of new DJI drones with V2 on the arms, but they're issuing you a sticker for the box. I'm guessing that's for retailers then, to allow them to update the firmware.
Apparently, they also give you a sticker to put on the inside the battery. So you cover up the sticker that comes on the drone, and you put a sticker on the arm and a sticker on the side that says 83 dB also.
Did you have to pay for the sticker kit, Louis?
No. Come on.
It's free.
Free as in free beer.
Okay.
Free beer, that's what we need for the Canadians. There we go. Well, nice link.
And from that, then you've noticed very little performance difference because for it to be quieter.
No performance differences. No, nothing.
No, did they not surely mean the RF power output being EU rather than FCC?
No, I think the dB is the noise. The drone has to
Oh,
have
it is
Yeah,
the noise,
it's
is it?
the noise,
Okay.
the noise of the drone. Because now you have to fly quiet drones. So I believe the Avata will have some problems complying with the 83 dBs. Don't you think,
Yeah.
Ian?
Yeah, it's not the quietest thing.
Yeah. But now, regular process, they just send you the stickers in the mail. You apply, take pictures, send back to them, and then they send you a piece of paper after reviewing the pictures. So you have to be.
They want pictures for what? Oh, what you've done on the drone, right?
Yeah,
okay.
that the because they know the firmware is applied. Otherwise, you could not submit the application. But then they want to see that you've put the stickers on the drone. You send pictures of the drone, and they'll send you the PDF saying with the compliance statement. That's it.
But here's something interesting. I thought retrofit wasn't possible on this, according to the EU.
Hey, come on, you know better. We've heard Bruce complaining so much about the compliance of the Avata that has to have the phone connected to the glasses to be compliant with remote ID. So I believe, and by the way, this paper that I was showing, it has in every possible language that you can imagine, the rules for the certification of C1.
Has it got Braille as well for blind drone operators?
Yeah, come on. The letters are killing me. But yeah, and it has a nice little one printed, so you get this thing,
Hang on,
and it has
Yeah, the
EASA.
paint's dried.
Yeah, EASA. So
Yes.
it's something very legal. It even has EASA written on the paper. So Bruce, get ready for your to be remote ID too.
Not going to happen, mate. Not around here.
That's what
I noticed
saying.
Callum in the comments seems to be hinting that he thinks remote ID is a good idea.
Yeah, it's pointless. It is the most BS idea going, I reckon. Electronic conspicuousy is where it goes to. That beats remote ID, because electronic conspicuocy should be for everything in the air, where remote ID can be easily spoofed and just be a complete spanner.
So can a lot of electronic.
Ian, is that a new
conspicuity
tiny
work,
whoop you're
yes.
working on?
It is. It's a whoop.
Good.
It's
Indoor flight.
650 mil whoop. This is one of the Hextoon frames by Cube Pilot. But this is
blind.
Here we go. Gratuitous product placement.
Yeah, Philip's getting gratuitous product placement. I'm a bit behind on some of the videos I should have made, and this has been sitting here for like a month, and I just haven't had a chance to do it. So I started.
Is that a machine from Philip?
This is from This is from Hex Aero. 1 second. Let me do. This is from the guys they work with. This is their Edu 650 kit. So you know they do the Edu 450.
Yes.
This is the bigger 650. So it's still a quad, but 650 wheelbase.
And it's in the sub 250 kg class.
Sub 250, much bigger motors, which are, what are they?
250 grams each.
370 kVs. 370s, is that?
Yes, Dover Sailplanes has got a good point. I fully agree that this is the other thing that annoys me and really angers me about the way regulators have approached the whole thing. They can't tell the difference between a Mavic and a foam model of a Piper Cub, or they choose not to tell the difference. And if we look again at the data, we've got scientific hard data to work on. I haven't seen the instances where a traditional modeler with a scale model of a Spitfire or Piper Cub has menaced anybody, caused any risk to the national airspace. They're just not part of the problem. Totally different risk profile. So why do we have exactly the same set of rules? It just does not make any sense.
Here's what's really interesting then. So there's a
think
problem
the
they're trying to solve. There's a problem there that they're trying to solve, right? The super skyway that Altitude Angel have designed eliminates the complete problem they're trying to solve. They're actually bringing into the system a problem that actually there's already a solution for, because in the skyway that Altitude Angel have created, you don't need the aircraft to see each other. A plane doesn't need to see a drone. The drone, if you like, will see, or the superhighway, should I say, will see other aircraft. It will then notify the drone remote pilot of that aircraft to take avoiding action if required. It should ignore an aircraft at 5,000 feet if they're at 400 feet. That's you won't want to know about that aircraft. It's immaterial. It's cruising at 5,000 feet. Who gives a crap about it? I don't. You know.
Here's an interesting thing, because I just saw the LinkedIn user. Okay, I actually am not against remote ID. What I'm against is public remote ID. You just had that comment of, is there an issue having security services being able to identify aircraft? I have no issues with that at all if remote ID wasn't open. If remote ID was encrypted and it was only accessible via, I knew, security services and police, and not available to be sold as data to businesses and not available to be open to anyone else, I would have zero issues with remote ID. What remote ID isn't, though, is any of that. Remote ID is an open standard that anyone with a modern smartphone will be able to open, see where I am, see what I'm doing. Some people are going to set up a network of tracking devices, including me, who is going to be one of the persons doing this. I'm going to be logging every drone flight in and out of anywhere remotely around me. Why? Because I can. And that is the issue I have with remote ID. If it was about security, it would be encrypted and locked down, and that would be absolutely fine.
You did right.
Ian,
It's equivalent. It's equivalent of having, they say it's a license tag for your drone, but the license tag on my car doesn't tell anybody where I live, whereas the remote ID tells people where I'm standing while I'm flying invulnerable. And that's the big difference. That's the personal data that standard remote ID gives out, which is unacceptable. It exposes drone operators to a huge level of risk, especially in an urban environment. So you can't draw a relationship between license plates and remote ID because when you're driving your car, you're safe. You're in a steel cage moving along, so you're not at risk. They know where you are. But I prefer to think that standard remote ID is like telling people where you live on your number plate on your car. Not acceptable.
Yeah, and look, what if I fire my... Look, how many times have I fired my aircraft? I'd hate to know how many times I've flown drone in my garden just to flatten a battery, and I'm talking 2 foot above the ground. I'm talking stuff just to check it's doing what it would. Firmware update, hover it in the garden for 5 minutes, because what I'd always do, for instance, is fully charge a battery, do the firmware upgrade. I've probably lost 10% at that point. If I wasn't then going flying to test it, I'd take it in the garden, fly it down to maybe 80, 70%, and I'd be happy. That means someone is going to be able to track all of that where I am. A person, anyone can do that. That's what I have an issue with. If it was private, encrypted, I would have no problem. If the police had to be issued devices, if it's such a big problem, why then could they not issue a dedicated device that has to be made to pick this up with an encrypted link? If it was that much of a problem, it can be done. The reason it's been done openly is because they want to do it on the cheap. They want to do it so it doesn't cost any money, because they know it's a problem they don't need to solve. If it was a problem they needed to solve, they would put money behind it.
I think you need to wind back a little bit. I think it was suggested by some manufacturers and some groups, and the FAA said, "Oh yeah, that'll do. Thanks very much." And they didn't think about it, and they didn't think about the unintended consequences. So, if anything, for the rest of the world, this rollout of remote ID is an example of how not to do it. Now, MacVision mentioned the HackRF. This is exactly the device, and I don't think enough people know this. This device has got a button which you can set up the call sign you want to push out via ADSB and push it out. There is your 3,000 rand, 4,000 rand solution for spoofing ADSB. It'll also spoof AIS as well. It is that simple.
Hang on, you mean I could spoof something, go into the middle of London and spoof something?
Yeah.
through there?
And you could pretend to be any aircraft.
You
you
can
But wouldn't that be
set up.
against the rules?
No,
Wow.
come on, Mark. You can go to the middle of London and spoof Queen Elizabeth II, the liner. Or
I was just thinking.
Yeah, because it does AIS as well. It'll do AIS. So
this makes a mockery then of, in the UK, for some operations, they like us to have ADS-B receivers. Why? One of my feedbacks going to be to one of my oversight reports will be, why, when I cannot trust that ADS-B, my visual line of sight is better.
But it's worse than that, Mark, because not all GA aircraft have ADS-B if they're operating in Class G airspace. This is the problem I have all the time. We had our airfield, we've got the ADS-B alarm. We still have aircraft coming and going without any electronic conspicuity, no ADS-B, yet they want us, if we're operating drones in Class G airspace, to have that conspicuity. That makes no sense at all. And it's not as if, when you look at aircraft, manned aircraft have been used by bad actors to do bad things. 9/11 springs to mind. Yet they don't require all manned aircraft to have an ADS-B transponder. They don't require them to have ADS-B, yet drones which have never been used for any bad purpose, killing people, whatever, in the Western world, we have to have this remote ID regardless of where we fly and regardless of the type of model we're flying. That 250-gram J3 Piper Cub, it's a real threat to the national security and the safety of people in the air. Yeah, no, they're going to be called on this, and I'm going to call them long and hard in the public arena. So, because only public shaming the regulators will have any effect.
And
Richard mentioned. Sorry, mate. Richard mentioned talking about definitions of drones. I've got to go, but then maybe next week. So can we get Callum and Richard to pinky swear to join us next week, and we'll talk about these things if we promise to be civilized. No, we always are. I think we always are. Yeah.
And remember, as Callum said, EC or RID is not in the UK regs. However, electronic conspicuity is talked about, and we don't know what that looks like. So there's no decision on RID in the UK. However, we do know the FAA have done it. We do know it's in Europe. I'll say mainland Europe, if you like, or EU. They have RID. However, here we don't. It's one of the small blessings that here we don't have it yet.
For now.
Yeah, for
now. That's what I said. A stroke or something. Are we going to call an ambulance for him?
Well, here's the important bit. Like Ian said, if it was to come out, there'll be people like Ian, and they will talk to other people, and they become a website, and you will see live where your drone is. Privacy is one of those things that's meant to be protected for all of us. But however, where you're stood, where you're flying, if that was to happen in the UK, I'm not saying it is, before Callum decides to go, it's just not good. It really isn't.
Yeah,
as Ian says, it should all be private.
America's beautifully demonstrated how not to do it.
Yeah.
And anyone that just picked it up and ran with it in the way they do it, well, it's there's a gratuitous chair shot. I well done, Ian. You got the chair shot in.
One thing I've been noticing, if we took the best of each regulator's regulations and put them together and produced a subset which was the best of the drone regulations, that'd actually be pretty damn good. The problem is that every regulator seems to have one little aspect that's quite good. For example, in New Zealand, we've got shielded operations, but we don't take the best. We just take all the rubbish as well. I might draw up a set of regulations based on regulations plucked from each regulator, the best ones of them, and in theory that should still provide total safety because each of those regulation allowances have been approved by that regulator as being suitable. So I'll take shielded operation from New Zealand, maybe the sub 250 operations in the UK or America.
A minor problem and affects only a small subset of the entire population. Because today I just read on the news that starting 2026, your car, your vehicle has to be trackable by the government.
Yeah.
So why are we? They're just doing this in little chunks. How do you hit an elephant? In very thin slices. So
yeah, it's the thin end of the wedge. one thing we've got going in our favour now in the coming years, a lot of people are totally disenchanted with their governments. They see what's happening in this progressive removal of, or stealing of freedoms and selling them back as privilege. And I think there's going to be a big turning point where people say, we've had enough. We're not going to have any more of this. And if we can position drone rules as part of that transition from the accepting blindly to the keep pushing back, then we've got a chance. We can use it as the little poster child for the change of public opinion. And so the idea is to get us positioned there. It's a small thing. It's something that people can stand up and say, this is ridiculous. You are trying to make 8-year-old children criminals in the UK because if they buy a plane and fly it without an adult getting them an operator number and a flyer ID, whatever, they're a criminal. And that's going to look so stupid.
I mean, yeah, we understand that each country has its own airspace requirements to a degree, like flight restriction zones and everything. But it just is crazy. I mean, you could roll back our regulations 3 years, and you couldn't say that 3 years ago the regulations were unsafe, because there've been no deaths in the specific, if you like, the old specific category or commercial operations side. There've been no deaths. You could roll back the rules 3 years in the UK, dump all the BS regs that we now seem to be weighted under, and the guidance, which the CA cannot get right at the minute in their own documents. It would be nice to you could roll back.
Okay, make it 12. Make it 12. I think make it 12 as that age then, because I think it's you have to be 13 to get to not have to have adult assistance to get a flyer ID or something in the UK. There is a point there where you fall between the cracks, and if you do something that kids have been doing for decades, you break the law.
To be honest, if kids showed up at my model flying club, I would teach them to fly, and I wouldn't stress about the rules too much at all.
The thing is, these kids aren't going to turn up at a club. They're probably individual kids that have saved their pocket money, bought something, live in an urban environment, just want to fly down the park or the school grounds. And because they don't have a flyer ID and they don't have an operator ID because mum's too busy, I don't know, doing something else, they then become lawbreakers. It's unreasonable. You can't.
Well, not only that, Bruce. If you said to a parent, "Oh yeah, you're going to come down to the Model Flight Club," just go to the CA website, and those are the rules, and that will explain it to you. I'll tell you what, a parent won't read past the first 2 paragraphs, and they'll just go, "Sorry, kid, let's go to the cinema instead," because that's easier. That's just easier. Trying to understand the UK regs now for anything to do with drones is just nuts, especially if you want to go fly a model plane at a model flying club. It's just daft.
It's exactly, and again, it speaks to the disingenuous nature of the regulators. They'll say, "Oh, we're here to encourage young people to get involved. We're going to get involved in STEAM and STEM, and we're going to encourage young people to come into aviation, but we're going to prosecute them if they dare to fly a foam plane in a schoolyard without the necessary paperwork and exams." And it's really, you say one thing, you do the other. I can't abide hypocrisy, and I see it as a massive form of hypocrisy to say we're supporting young people coming into the hobby, and then they just do that. It's ridiculous.
There's no support for young people coming into the hobby from the CA at all in any country. Quite clearly, it's over-regulated. It's so far, it's ridiculous. Like I say, roll back the rules 3 years and it'd be fine. The regs then were fine. The only thing is we accepted all this EU bump from BS. And at the time, when every hobby flyer was emailing YASA saying, "Don't screw with our rules, don't screw with our rules." And YASA had to say, "Can you stop emailing us, please? Because we promise we won't screw with the rules." They lied through their teeth. So YASA, I have something for them. It's in my pocket, but I'm not going to get it out because it might offend a few people. But it's one of my middle fingers, because YASA was just, and that was back in 2015, I think it was, when they said, when they started looking, and they said they wouldn't screw with us, and they did. They lied through their teeth. I have no time for YASA at all.
Well, yeah, it's the same with most of these organisations. But again,
thank God, it's just his finger he's got in his pocket.
Yeah. He's pleased to see you. They should just separate out the traditional hobby. Separate this traditional hobby out of all this ridiculous regulation. If you're worried about people with Phantoms and Mavics and things, regulate them. But don't regulate the kid with his Piper Cub flying in a park. That's stupid.
It is stupid. And the problem is, the difference between a model aircraft and a drone, right? The difference in my eyes is, I would say you could say, oh, it's the GPS part of it, but it's not quite the same, because there are a lot of drones now. Technology is moving that quick. It's the flight controller. If it's got a flight controller in it, but then that eliminates the hobby racing guys. They suddenly become a drone, and that wouldn't be fair on them either.
GPS is the deciding factor. All the drones that are easy to fly have got GPS, and apart from the little toy ones, which aren't a threat anyway, it's the deciding factor. It means someone can take it out of the box and just use it without having to learn about how things fly. It's just a camera with the three-dimensional tripod. That's what you've got with those drones. That's why trouble occurs. A freestyle drone, or even just the little toy ones that have no GPS, they're not a threat to anybody.
Yeah,
exactly. Geeks Partner's got it right.
Yeah, it should never have been part of Damara's. Yeah, but it's a problem for them because they can't define a model aircraft. And Horizon Hobby even do a nice plane that's got GPS. If you fly it too far, and it sense it's going out of range, it will return to home and come back on its own because it has GPS. So that's a model plane, but it's got that safety feature. So is it a drone or isn't it a drone? Because it can come back. It becomes, it will be a nightmare.
If it's got GPS, it's because the regulators are worried about people flying BV loss and things. Virtually every BV loss craft has a GPS return to home. And so that, to me, I'm quite happy to accept, okay, that's a drone. It needs a different type of regulation because it has potential. It has more potential to be misused than a regular model aircraft. So I think GPS is the very simple thing. Does it have GPS? Yes or no? If it does, then it falls into this category. If it doesn't, it falls into that category. It's so simple to draw that distinction.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think
agree with
Callum was saying, I think he's open to the conversation about it, and I'd be very interested.
Sorry, guys. Bruce's definition is wrong. We should establish a committee. That committee nominates Bruce Simpson as the lead technical verifier of a drone or model airplane. People pay $10 for a fee to verification. That fees go 50% to Bruce and 50% to all of us. So problem solved. We establish a committee, and that committee has a fee to determine the
we have to use the system
or not.
Adopt the system that everyone else does.
Who's bringing the biscuits? And what biscuits are we having?
Well, Ian always has biscuits and stuff on his live stream, so he can bring the biscuits. He's gone now. Look, he's just used us and abused us.
So in his absence, we voted that Ian is bringing. There we are. So Ian is bringing the biscuits, and Geeks wants to make the coffee. Oh, good. We're getting all this properly sorted out. I'm pleased.
We're getting so professional.
I'm listening and soldering. I am.
No, but
listening and soldering.
The thing is, we can discuss until the end of times about this and that. But end of the day, the political correct solution would be a committee, an advisory committee. Come on, we can establish the open committee to determine viability of drones and model airplanes.
And how many subcommittees should we have as well? I think subcommittees are very important.
No. We applied to EASA, applied to CAA, and to the Americans, and Bob's your uncle. So let's go do it.
Trips and everything.
Or your auntie says the gender reassignment.
I mean, I do know already that in the commercial groups on Facebook, there's quite a few, and commercial operators are actually going to the CA next year. It won't surprise me. And going, okay, who are the stakeholders? Because they keep presenting this stuff to stakeholders. Stakeholders this, stakeholders that, and it's time. I think there's going to be a bit of a turn in the commercial world, not just the hobby. You know what hobby flying and all that kind of stuff, and model planes. What is a model plane or not? But I can see in the UK. There's going to be quite a few commercial operators that are going to turn their attention and go into the CA. Why are you messing with us like you are? They've had enough. People have seen CAP 722H. We've seen PDRA01. They're just going to go, right, we're now going to go at the CAA because there's nothing left to lose. You know, the damage is immense to the industry. there's going to be quite a bit of a pushback, I think, which could be interesting, because the CAE will just go, we don't care, which is fair enough. They can do. They're the regulator, but I don't see how the industry is going to continue to go forwards. You know, at the minute, it's just crazy.
So
What
we're all
to
agreed
say
on that then.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
what to say on that? It's yeah, I think. Well, what I suppose, and I know. Well, Callum has come from the model flying world. I know that. I know he has. So he must be in a very difficult position, sitting in the chair that he sits in there, and knowing perhaps what the community would like to happen, which will differ from what perhaps his bosses think are going to happen.
The only question I have for Callum would be, is if you sat in those meetings, were you not saying, or were you not pushing forward? Look, you can't mix the two. You got to split out. But the problem is, his bosses are just going to go, oh look, these are the regulations. This is what the regulation says. Therefore, tough, crack on. This is our drive. This is what we're telling you. And he'll just be overridden. Like model flying's been overridden for quite a while now. It just gets steamrolled.
Yeah, but you just stay in one of those meetings and say, look, we're getting a lot of pushback from the hobby community. Can we just present them with the evidence, the facts to prove that these regulations are necessary? Can I please have that risk assessment that obviously has been done by people further up the chain to support this level of restriction? If you can give me that, I can pass it on. Problem solved. But just move the ball up the court and let them sweat.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest problem the CA is going to have here is they've just amazingly renewed Article 16. But they've completely changed, which is in a specific category. So if you fly under Article 16 in the UK, and that allows you a little bit reduced distance for separation for hobby flying. So 15 meters takeoff and landing from uninvolved people, and 30 meters in flight from uninvolved people. However, PDRA 01, which has just been completely screwed up, if you read Cap 72H, where you're going to have this buffer zone, the one-to-ones, this, that, and the other, and twaddle, which my brain just can't be bothered. I'm afraid. Sorry, Callum. It's getting crazy where hobby side gets to do something like they can do. Yeah, if you fly under a commercial thing, all of a sudden it's a lot riskier. But if I go out and fly under Article 16 and I fly my model plane, I'm doing loops, I'm doing rolls, I'm doing aerobatics, I'm doing all kinds of stuff where the aircraft's got no safety features other than throttle cut. However, my commercial operations, I just don't see the point in bothering getting the drone out, to be honest.
This is what I say. The New Zealand regulator has very, very wisely said, we see no difference in risk profile between recreational and commercial operations. There's no license as such that gives you exclusive right to do commercial operations.
And I see their point. And it's something because the comment GMI Visuals did on the chat. That commercial operators should be charged and have all the rules, and the hobby pilots would be just a few bare bones rules. The thing is, and it's something that I don't get that on my drone activity, but I speak with lots of commercial pilots that do, for instance, real estate, and lots of people that do real estate complain bitterly that hobby users of drones go out and do the real estate flights and just burn the business. So that's one of the issues that comes up with where is the distinction. We come from one distinction to the next distinction. What is a commercial operator?
Yeah.
What is not a commercial operator? And can a recreational flyer do commercial work or not?
These are ill-defined, aren't they? I mean, look in America. It's if you do anything in furtherance of a business, then it's deemed to be commercial. And if you monetize your YouTube videos, you're a commercial operator. But they try and say, well, if you did the flight without the intention of commercial benefit and you do it later, that's fine, because there's that paradox where if I go and for example use my drone to get pictures of my friend's farm and just
passing the buck of distinction to another place instead of having because now everybody gets the same rules. The thing is how are you going to determine that if a guy that is flying around a villa or a block of flats, taking some pictures for real estate, is a commercial operator or not? You don't. So
it's all changed. The EASA regs killed the commercial bit. So if you fly in the open category, you can be a commercial operator in the UK and EASA. If you fly, the distinction is now the category you're flying in. So you have a specific category.
Mark,
so in the UK, we have
the guys that do real estate and marriages and shooting for marriages are bitterly complaining about the amateur drone flyers around that.
So you want protectionism then?
They want protectionism. You have to remember, so it's completely gone now. In the UK, you can be a commercial operator. You don't need a CA permission. You don't need the A2 CFC, anything. All you need is the right insurance. So as long as you have commercial insurance, you are fine.
No, it won't work.
No, unfortunately, CA doesn't have good communication channels, I'm afraid. I'm afraid they've proven that they don't. They didn't approach us at all, especially the drone community. And while Callum is on the CA payroll, he has to say certain things, I'm sure. The stakeholders that they went to, no, PDR 01, whoever came up with that in CAP 72H, I hate to say this, but I would happily throw them under a bus. It's just hard.
just another point here, because it's like we have exemptions, like we have Section 16 or whatever it is in the UK, which is a exemption for recreational flyers. In the USA, they have an exemption for recreational flying. The fact that we have to exempt recreational flyers from a set of regulations clearly means those regulations shouldn't have applied to them in the first place. So why would you include them in the regulatory framework?
Exactly, Bruce. The open category should never have changed from what we had originally. If we had kept what our hobby flyers always had, there'd be no need for Article 16. But the problem is, because EASA had to cover 27 countries, and each country was slightly chuffing different, they had to take a general rule set, and it applies to all of them. And like I say, we don't have the difference anymore between commercial and non-commercial. You can fly a Mini as long as you have the right insurance, EC 785 2004 reg insurance. You can fly commercially in the open category. The only thing that's different is when you want to fly in the specific category, then you have to use PDR 01, and it can be used commercially. However, this is where it gets a bit silly in the regs.
Mark, let me stop you there one second. Does the client asks for all of that, or if just asks for the price?
It depends upon your client. And remember, we do have the A2 CFC as well, so you could show them that. It depends upon the client what they ask for. So
does the real estate agency goes out and asks for all of that? All those companies that arrange for the marriages and the photographs and all of that, do they ask for all of that? They don't.
They used to. The UK got used to asking to see your permission for commercial operation before 2000, before the new regs kicked in. In the UK, a lot of wedding venues, estate agents, all that kind of stuff, they would ask to see your PFCO. Now they don't. The A2 CFC kicks in. They might ask for that, or they might ask for PDR 01. However, if you've got a Mini, all you need is the right insurance. They don't ask for anything else because they don't need it. Yeah. And it's quite clear in the regs. Operators go, all you've got to do is have this insurance. I have it, therefore I am commercial. And there's no distinction anymore. But here's the crazy thing. Article 16, which is in the specific category, so we have the open category, like EASA does, then we have Article 16. Article 16 only stipulates one little bit, not to be used for commercial operations. And they push everyone that wants to fly reduced distances to the A2 CFC or PDR 01. But Mark, PDR 01 with its change.
The next question is, who's enforcing that? If the client does not ask for it,
Oh, the CA,
so
well, the
no,
police, and
nobody
CAA
is
do that.
enforcing that.
No,
You
there's
don't-
never any true enforcement in the UK. There never has been.
Well, I don't get this whole discussion, because if you're a professional and you're doing it commercially, you will be working to a higher standard, won't you? That's why people take their cars to a garage to get it fixed, and the neighbor next door fix it. Either party could fix that quite legally, but you take it to the dealer because you know you can get better service. So if you're a commercial drone operator, you must be operating and producing a better product. The price will be higher, but the product's better. Then the consumer can make their choice whether they get the kid next door to film their property or
If
not.
the customer is fighting for lowered prices, you'll get the cheaper guy that comes.
Yeah, well, that's the same with car repairs, though. We don't see the need for protectionism when it comes to fixing your car. If the guy next door knows a bit about mechanics and he wants to fix your car, you can hire him. He doesn't have to have a special license or anything. You just hire him and he fixes the car.
There was moves towards it, Bruce, and it was curtailed by the EU government. Some years ago, manufacturers started to really close things down, and there was a real possibility, if it carried on, normal independent garages wouldn't exist. But the EU actually stepped in and made it illegal, intentionally, in the car thing.
Yeah, we have situations here. Like we have, if you want to get your lawns mowed, you can hire a professional lawn contractor, a franchise lawn contractor, and pay $20 a time. Or you can say to the kid next door, I'll give you $10 to mow my lawn. That's fine. Why shouldn't that apply to drones?
It does. It does here. And the OSC part, so if you bring up the OSC part, so Callum's last comment.
Yeah.
Right now, PDRA is in a specific cat, and it's just part of specific category. Well, so is Article 16. They are both part of the specific category. Just for that. Now, you can do anything you want via an OSC, and it will be assessed. But yes, if you want to do anything beyond PDRA 01 in a specific category, you want to fly something that's 50 kilos in weight, you would have to have the OSC. You know, if you want to fly a swarm, you would have to have an OSC. The CA is good at assessing these and doing it, and they do reduce distances with heavier aircraft. You can have that, so you can get all that via part of an OSC, which would be in a specific category.
I'm not sure it's actually Callum's main area of interest at the CA. Again, if you come on, Callum, you can explain it to all us. I promise it will be nice.
We'll be gentle, won't we, Gary?
We will. Yeah. And you mentioned swarms there. Actually, I know you've got one coming up, but do we all see? Because we ought to quickly vector towards what we're expecting of next year and what's happened this last year. We were an hour and a half in and we haven't done that. Did you see the Chinese pretty amazing Chinese swarm the swarm in a box, fired out of tubes, 43 airframes that move into formation, hold off, and do all the stuff coming for sale out of China now? Did we all see that one, or is that only me?
Is it on AliExpress?
It probably is on AliExpress, along with all the aeroscope gear as well. It's pretty amazing, and that is laser.
Most regulators forbid drone swarms without special permits, don't they? Without special authorizations.
Yeah, but not in a war zone, because these are kamikaze drones. I know we don't like the phrase.
Did you see someone sent me some footage this morning? Was it on Twitter? I think it was. Yeah, that someone flying an FPV drone into the back of an armed troop carrier. Boom. That's pretty good.
What's interesting as well, you can get swarm or multi-rotor OSC in the UK, but they won't touch fixed wing at the minute, because you can fixed wing swarm, but they don't actually allow it at the minute.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know.
Why not?
Well, Callum's there. I can't get over the fact, I can't understand this, because we have all this restriction on people flying little toys, foam Piper Cubs and stuff like that. Yet we are seeing the regulators starting to roll out things like approving drone delivery services, which are wholly reliant on GPS. And we've seen that in America, GPS can go out for a 40-mile radius for quite some period of time, causing aircraft to be diverted from airports. So where's the safety fallback when Amazon or Google are delivering stuff by delivery drone and the GPS system is blocked or whatever, or spoofed or something like that, and there's not Google say they don't even have cameras on their drones. So what happens then? Where's the safety for that? Why are the commercial operators not held to as high a level?
I almost want to answer for Callum there. He might be typing away.
Go.
Much like the UK has already said it's not accepting what America's accepting for AAM and UAM. they've already said it's not good enough. So I think you have to be very careful about which
regulate.
So how are they going to do beyond visual line of sight without having a pilot for each and every drone flying at FPV? If you're going to rely on the GPS system, you'll always have that weakness.
You'd have to have a pilot there, and you have to have cameras because you've got to be able to see. You know, if you have a failure, you've got to be able to see where you're going to put the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. So where's the benefit in terms of cost? You've got one person per delivery. That's worse than a delivery van.
Oh,
you can, but that's another conversation altogether, isn't it? Is the thing a valid thing to do anyway? Personally, I don't think that package to your delivery or a small package to somewhere, even a small package to a hospital. I don't think. Did we see the thing that fell from the sky in India and landed beautifully? What was it that the sign said?
On the train tracks, yeah.
On the train tracks, it said something, didn't it, on the sign? Let's have a look at that while we're here.
I do know one thing. Sometimes I've been fortunate enough to be at times in a workshop, and a drone's come in that someone's had a problem with, and then I'm not talking about DJI stuff. I'm talking about slightly bigger, bespoke builds. And then you just get a little bit of time to nerd out as we take the covers off and we start looking at it going, what the hell is going on in here? That's the kind of stuff that's quite nice at times.
I see Sam says traffic avoidance and ADS-B on drones. Of course, you realise that if the GPS or the global satellite navigation system goes out, ADS-B can't tell where the plane is anyway. So your stuff coming from ADS-B will be lost.
Together. Fouling, that's what it said. I thought that was absolutely.
Isn't that a Chinese drone manufacturer?
Fouling, absolutely. And people in India, because now that this is another conversation. This is made in India problem. This isn't made in India, and you're not supposed to fly anything in India now unless it is made in India. But so this is
the burning
drone that's been.
The burning question is, why doesn't it have turtle mode?
Does that work if you've knocked off a couple of the motors? But yeah, I thought that was brilliant that they managed to put that there. So there's that. So
Callum's response saying there are multiple methods to navigate: GNS, inertial, triangulation, etc. Yeah, to be economically viable, these delivery drones are going to be. They can't have high spec INS systems because they're really expensive, and they're going to be built to a price. They're going to be built to a price. So the certification standards will have to be high enough to make sure all this stuff works. And I don't think they will be able to do that. And so there'll be commercial pressure put on regulators to reduce these specifications, reduce the compliance costs, and we'll end up with unsafe craft.
I
think that is. I'm sorry, Mark. I'll go. And in fact, you go first. I'm being rude. After you, Mark. Sorry.
See, I think the problem here is, and this is for the regulators and Callum's particular thing as well, is aircraft will have to be certified. The problem is it takes a long time to get anything certified for air use. But there's our technology it's just changes every few months. So I can't just take a new part and drop it straight into the aircraft and go, that's as good as it was before, because that won't be allowed. The airframe's going to have a limited time frame. So Callum, for delivery stuff and more, the solution is actually something called Starships. You'll find them roaming around in Leeds and Milton Keynes. For short range deliveries, that's what you would choose. However, don't get me wrong, I do understand in Scotland and the Highlands, a fixed wing drone might make more sense. However, there's the solution for all the delivery people. If you want something that will deliver from your Domino's within a 5 kilometre range, you need a Starship. That is the answer. A nice little Starship rover. And same for anywhere like that. They're just going to be rolled out to more cities. Those are going to be the things where electric scooters and they're just going to be chasing each other down the road because that's why not.
And for longer distance deliveries, a Starship Enterprise.
Yeah, and they're cheap. And remember, drone delivery for in an urban area is going to be up against something that costs less than £6,000 to make. That'll be the interest.
I mean, to be fair to the regulator, that's nothing. It doesn't really matter to the regulator if there's another way of doing it. Because the regulator doesn't have to not part of the certification is to make sure it's a viable business. They've just
Yeah.
got to
Sign
make
off the
sure that
aircraft.
whatever it is
Yeah,
safe
sure.
and can jump through enough hoops and keep raising the bar. Basically, I think, and India's that very crash in India is proving that that's not a fit for purpose aircraft. The one that the week before. That was actually in England. That was in Scotland. That was a really poor
Excellent.
choice of airframe, and
Oh.
yeah, really annoyed me. There was the AAIB report just said, oh, they've agreed they're going to check the props every 10 hours.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
it's not cool. It's not cool at all. They should have. I think that AAIB report should have gone a bit further with more recommendations. Maybe they don't have the expertise, but I know in the case of manned incidents and accidents, they will go into more depth into comment.
I would have said that airframe is unsuitable for VTOL flights.
I would say it's just unsuitable for everything.
Yeah, well, the X8 airframe style, once it loses airspeed and drops, there is very little to recover. And if the motors aren't up to it and the battery powers aren't up to it, no wonder it fell out the sky. They are just horrible airframes. Part of it would be, the AAIB should have said, this airframe is not
horrible,
suitable, and therefore should never be used as a VTOL again in the UK. And it should have been that simple. Well, they just, like you say, I don't think they have that kind of level of knowledge. It's just not there.
There we go. Sam, just send me an email and I'll write you a note from your mother.
You see, it depends what country you're in as well, Sam. But in the UK, I would say just about forget it. It's an OSC approval, and it's just
because hobbyists can't be trusted to do BV loss work. When that anyone that tried would be doomed to disaster. It's not like there are thousands and thousands of videos on YouTube showing hobbyists performing BV loss flights safely and with good sense. No, we can't have that. It must be the experts who know exactly how to drive a walnut desk in a high-rise building. They're the ones who will tell us how to do this safely.
Yeah, the experts. Don't go near hobby flyers. Don't go near FPV flies because they haven't got Scooby-Doo.
Do you know what I got right here? There's a walnut desk there, and that's
you're good regulated material there, Gary.
Yeah. It's Sarah's grandfather's leaving work gift for like 1 million years working for the Durban Council in the electricity department back when we used to have electricity. So yeah, but I'm not graduated to sitting at the walnut desk. I'm at the
you need a glass tower now. That's what you need. Actually, while I'm busy ripping people a new one, I want to rip the FPV Freedom Coalition a new one. They've been appointed a CBO, right? And if you look at their safety programming, you must abide by all the FAA's regulations. Yet I would say there is not one member of that organization that doesn't, at least on a semi-regular basis, fly without a spotter. Hypocrisy at work again. If you don't believe something, then don't put it in your. If you don't think spotters are necessary, then you should be saying that. You should be standing up for the hobby and saying, no, we instead of just complying, say, yeah, we'll comply with everything you say. They're lying to the FAA by saying, our members must do this because they know their members don't. No FPVer flies with a spotter all the time, apart from me, but I'm lucky I've just got Arnie on call.
Dover Sales played our hobbyist represented on the FAA CAA committees. That is in the UK a little bit better than they are in America, but that is unfortunately a hot button topic. Yes, the short answer is yes, they are, but you better be careful of who's representing you. Is my answer. What's Bruce's answer?
Well, I don't know, but I'm going to declare I don't fly BV loss very often at all, if ever, because I do think that the risk profile associated with BV loss, certainly in the area where I operate, is too high, because not all GA aircraft have ADS-B fitted, not all GA aircraft fly above 500 feet. So for those reasons that are not my fault, but they are things that the GA community choose not to do to protect themselves, I'm not going to put anyone at risk by flying BV loss. I fly as far as I can hear, and I can hear a manned aircraft coming from a couple of miles away. that's as far as I would fly, because my ears and my ADS-B alarm are my primary things. Now, even then, I used to do that. I don't do it so much now, because if you've got a Rotax 912, you can't hear that from very far at all. A very quiet engine. So the profile of manned aviation has changed. But I happily fly BVLOS, in an area where there's not going to be any manned aircraft. But I do. And again, BVLOS is something that you fly, you do it, you go, well, that's interesting, but I don't want to walk that far if my model crashes, or, I could lose my plane. It's something that all people will try at least once, just so they can say they've done it and to experience it. It's like flying to as high as your model will go. Everyone's going to do it once so you can experience it. But, it's not something that I choose to do. And although I come across as a bit of a rebel and anti-authority and anti-rules, I very much believe that BVLOS is something we should be very, very careful about, and not just fly it because we have the ability to do it, but much more risk management has to be brought in. And in that respect, I don't support the hobby flying BVLOS, except in areas where they can legitimately say it's safe to do so.
Sean's last comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know the DFT is pushing the CA's button, Sean. Yeah. It's definitely not our regulator making decisions. Someone's pushing that button for sure.
Of course, the regulator can always say, we're not going to enforce this because we don't agree with it, but it's a regulation.
Well, the DFT's pushing. So there's people at the DFT definitely pushing the CA's button somewhere. Someone's definitely done something around.
It's the same here. Our Ministry of Transport is taking over the regulation of drones from CAA because CAA wouldn't play ball. Yeah,
I suspect that. But there's a, I think, and I've seen it somewhere, there is something asking if the CA is fit for purpose. And part of me fears that you could say no, but then we end up with the DFT being more involved, and we don't need that. We need the DFT to stop pushing the buttons, and those lobbyists stop pushing the buttons and just let the CA do what they do. I'm going to say this, used to do best. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, RCA was astoundingly good with the regs. They weren't overzealous. They weren't crazy. We weren't overregulated like we are today. Today, just.
I think one of my predictions then for next year is that we are going to see a lot of fallout in the flying car business. A lot of those companies are going to go to the wall next year because they've run out of their VC funded money. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of that is you're pushing your Department of Transport and stuff like that. It's from that sort of stuff. I don't know.
I'm not sure I agree. I think the hype is still strong in this market. And the thing they have going for them is this: we're green, we're electric. We don't want these helicopters and jet-powered aircraft. You put your money in the future, the green future. This green movement has such a huge amount of momentum that they can just pitch it on the fact that we're not going to be burning hydrocarbons. It's this, zero emission, and that will encourage a different set of investors that want to make sure the planet is, sustainable, and they've probably had agenda change along the way, all that sort of stuff. They will be the ones that will come in and they will help fund us. I don't think we're going to see a crash in the eVTOL AAM market until probably 2024.
Did I actually just hear that? I'm going to move on from what I think I just did.
We've got to remain contemporary and open-minded here.
Who do we think, here's a question, who do we think will be the first drone company to go under in 2023? And I mean anybody. Because Auterion, you think? It is all beginning to come to a head in FPV. China's a mess. 80% of the population is believed to have human malware. And this isn't just nonsense figures. I've been talking to the companies who Bruce knows I deal with, he deals with, and it's true. They are like, everyone has this thing over there. Now, what we don't know is the effect it's going to have on is of 80%, is 10% going to pass away? We hope not, but do you know what I mean? In the UK, it's a bit complicated, isn't it? Understanding the death figures, because how much of it would have been elderly and already, but what effect will it have on the workforce if 80% of people have it? But there's really things beginning to come to a head now with companies. in FPV, in
What's
drones.
the name of that company that does used to do the best goggles?
Fat Shark.
Fat Shark.
Fat Shark are. Here's something super interesting. I have a review of the new HD0 goggles coming in a few days. I've got them, and I'll be honest, I don't see a reason for Fat Shark to exist now, because for that high-end goggle, HD0 coming in about the same price with infinitely more features. So why would you buy an inferior product? It's that simple.
Also the thing is, how many units can they must they sell to survive?
Yeah, well, Fat
Yeah,
Shark's
what-
in a weird position because they're transitioning to new ownership, which is the same person that owned it before. It's all a
Yeah.
little bit dodgy, to say the least, in my opinion. But yeah, there's a lot that could go under in the next 12 months because, look, cost of living is a major thing in the UK. Still over here, it's hitting worldwide. I was catching up on Lewis Rossman the other day, and he's now moved to Texas. He's moved his entire business to Texas because of the costs of the big cities. And this is going to hit China as well. Those big population centers where the companies and businesses are paying massive rents and stuff, that's going to hit them too. The same thing's hit London. It's going to hit over there now as well, because they've now got to change how they work, just like the rest of the world did. But yeah, I think, Autel are interesting. They make some nice product. I'd like to see more of it.
I can't. Would you? I can't see
I would
more
like
than
to
that.
see more of it.
Would you? Oh, I can't see more than that.
On hotel,
Get him
have
to
you
talk to
seen
me
the,
would be nice, Gary.
We
Have
can
you
have a
seen-
chat when we're not on this.
Okay. Yeah. Arterian's interesting. Look, we've got some really stable companies. Cube Pilot. If we think, look, Cadex is probably going to be around, Bruce, for quite some time. DJI are going nowhere. Maytech, all of those sort of component companies are big. But then you've got a lot of little businesses, which I just don't see how they can survive in the next 6 months. I just don't see it because BOM is causing a problem. Everything is getting to the point where it's too expensive. Basic flight controllers are now £100 for FPV.
Let's not forget shipping.
And shipping, yeah, and shipping still. Basic flight controllers are $100, £100 now for FPV. That's making a quad. Someone complained about the review I did that said it's way too expensive. It's £500. Actually, a £500 drone that you build yourself is actually cheap at the moment because of the component costs. Yeah, I don't think Fat Shark can step up because I don't think they have the technology. I don't think they have the people. If you look at a set of Fat Shark goggles, there is nothing smart about them. The menu system is very basic. It's the same thing. HD0 have walked in and have developed a Linux-based open source OS for their goggle, which is light years ahead.
How long
of
does it take to
everyone else.
boot? How long does it take to boot the goggles?
It's not bad. It's about 5-6 seconds, I think, off the top of my head. It's not terrible. It's a little laggy here and there. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. It's actually a bit more laggy exiting the menu because I think it's storing the settings away. But
you want lag. You want lag up there in the northern hemisphere because all the pipes are bursting in the cold.
But you look at it, it's light years. Now we saw Orca do this first of all. The Orca goggles are very nice, but these companies have been. Let's look at the Fat Shark stuff. It's 5-year-old tech plus. Nothing has changed. The only thing they changed, Bruce, was the screens, wasn't it? That's the only thing they really changed on their goggles.
Yeah, they haven't even moved the damn SD card slot.
No. So I don't know how these companies are. There has to be a big push, but I think we're going to lose. I think Autel are fine. Arterian's interesting.
Yeah, they haven't got anything.
So do you think Blue
What about
UAS
Teal?
hasn't been the cash cow, Gary, that everyone said it would be for them? Because that's
What about Teal?
everyone's based on.
Teal seem to be
I'm
doing
not
very well,
sure
I reckon.
You're right, Gary, because Auterian is doing contract work for a lot of people. So
Yeah, but
although they don't appear,
those people aren't then having breakout products that are becoming super successful. They're niche products which have a place. Look, if I will add a caveat, if has it gone through the thing in Congress yet? The banning of DJI drones for all sorts of stuff in America? I don't think
No.
it has
And
yet.
it won't happen, Gar. It will never
But
happen.
no, I don't think it will either. But let's suggest it does happen. And if that
Yeah.
does happen, then away they go. Then they'll be very successful.
Yeah, and as will everyone at that point outside of the Chinese companies.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? You'll
Yes.
see, I remember there was quite a few independent drone companies that popped up. Look, who's the company? The Alta guys. They're still doing very well. They're
Yeah.
still
Yes.
doing okay. There are companies who can benefit from it, but I never see America banning DJI. I just don't see it. I don't think they can.
No, I don't think so either. But that would be the only thing that would drive. And that CC3D, there's one there. And I've even got.
Do we think
the Laura one
Aterian were basing everything on the fact that DJI would be banned? The hope of this blue UAS would be a magical...
I think that the blue, I do think they were betting it on the blue UAS thing. We've got some Americans in the chat; they might have a different opinion, but I don't see them surviving forever unless something big like that comes along.
Will Parrot survive after all the bad mouthing Louis gave them?
Did he? I missed all Louis' bad mouthing he gave him. What?
Oh, he's been saying all sorts of bad things about them on this stream, hasn't he?
No, on the contrary. They have, I believe they still have best SDK in the market. Hands down. They need to step up bringing new drones. But their development and their helpfulness to developers is uncomparable to anything on the market, except for Autopilot, obviously. But that's another story.
I'm looking now for my CC. I've got some of the ones with the LoRa boards on them.
It's a spider, is what it is. It's a spider of ESCs and
PVB.
He's taking up basket weaving now. Look at him.
Yeah. See, like the center of a quad. So I've taken its spine out.
Thanks, Callum. Thanks for your presence, man.
All right, man. Yeah, thanks. We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you Gary,
soon.
Well, look, he asked the impossible. I'm not going there.
Yeah. Yes. Do you think there is value in these CC3Ds? I think this was the number 2 one I remember that was made.
Yep. I have one of those. We all never got it to fly properly. It was terrible. The Naze 32 with base flight was much better.
Yeah.
Because
it's amazing actually.
The Naze was a copy of this. That's why.
But it was better. It was improved.
When you look at all of them, like Betaflight has. If we look at Betaflight now, basically install it, jack the slider up a notch, Bruce, and it's basically perfect. Other than it's so close to being perfect, it's ridiculous. Autopilot is much better once you've understood a billion params. I have a PX. Interestingly, I have a PX4 development kit, which I'm in the process of making a video about. I was sent, and I actually what Holy Bro have done with it is quite nice. I like the kit. It's a complete drone in a box, basically, that you put together. It's not the one I'm doing now. It's a different one. And it's PX4 based, not Autopilot, which will be interesting. But there are some nice, easy setups out there, for the self-build. KK.
Yeah, but you got the version 2, man.
Yeah, version 2.
You want the 0.01 beta. That was the one to have.
Was it? Yeah.
It was done. It was done on that Vero board with jumper wires.
Vero board with jumper wires. You say?
It'll be interesting to see who survives, won't it? This next 12 months.
Yeah, I think. What's that?
I don't think China will be a problem, though. You're talking about the COVID in China. I mean, Chinese New Year's coming up. Everyone in China will have been exposed to it, and they'll either be dead or recovered within another couple of 3 months.
Yeah. And most people go home for China New Year.
But they
don't
are they're opening up, they're dropping the restrictions in the new year, aren't they? Or our
Yeah, well, I think
year.
they've had to. I think they were borderline on an uprising. There's a point where the government can see things are, as much as it seems the CCP is in control, it's in control to a point.
Yeah.
And if you look at the Arab Spring and all of those things, it only takes a tipping point and things suddenly get out of control. And I think they wanted to make a move before that happened, because
And the whole world's reaching that tipping point now. I mean, look at the UK with the energy issues and the cost of living. A lot of people are just looking for an excuse to be outraged and start smashing stuff. Honestly, I get so many emails from people who are just, the hobby is just one of those factors that is just making them so cross.
Yeah, it's like 31st of January, my energy costing changes from 18 pence a kilowatt to 40.
Well, I'm on 33. I'm on 33.
It's about 33, 34 or whatever it is, Mark, it goes to. I go to national rates, whatever, because I was on a deal. And genuinely, I don't know what we're going to do. Look, we can afford it. I'm lucky. Look, we earn enough that at the end of the day, if the energy bill doubles,
white privilege.
White privilege, but look, I earn enough that if it doubles,
Welsh
I'm not
privilege.
going to be sitting here and not eating. But it's still going to be 200 quid out of my ass pocket a month that I'm not paying out today. And that's a chunk of money. That's a chunk of money. And a lot of people are facing this, and the government really didn't do anything, Mark, did they? There's a lot of noise about stuff they did.
Here's the problem that I have, and this is going to sound rather harsh, and this is going to sound quite bad. However, there are lots of jobs out there, and there are lots of unemployed. People got money from COVID, so everyone got handouts and everything. A lot of people got handouts. Everyone did. Since COVID,
Where's mine?
I think we've become almost... Everyone wants everything on a plate. So I could see what was happening, right? And I went out and got another job because drones wasn't paying me to fly. My drone jobs were not going to do it. The Mini 2's come along, the Mini 3, it's destroyed where I work, in the bracket that I was working in. People didn't need any special PFCOs anymore or any rubbish. It wiped me out. I could see what's happening. I got a job. I protected myself, and I was lucky. And the job I took didn't need any degrees, didn't need anything special, but I earn enough to pay for my house, and I can stomach the price increase is on fuel. Quite simple. And I can still afford to go out with my friends for a drink once a week if I want to. All you've got to do is take action and protect yourself. However, I will say that Octopus keep trying to put my money up every month to £146 to pay for my gas and electric, and I keep pulling it back down to 80 quid. I will not let them put it up above 80 quid.
Give you an idea, I pay 200 quid now.
Well, I pay less than that, but I have solar.
Yeah, I have a lot. And this is, I suppose for me, the frustration is, if I was in the position to go out and spend 10 grand on battery storage and all out solar, I would, but I'm not in that position. For me, the way to protect myself would be a complete battery solar installation, put in 6 to 8, 10 kilowatts of battery, and that would largely cover what I need. Not this time of year, but in summer, and I would get some payback. But the problem is, I suppose what the government should have done, a very sensible move, would have been an interest-free government-backed loan for people to have these systems installed to save energy. That would have been a very simple move, rather than...
Shall I say
they've done that in other countries.
Controversial thing for over there?
What's
What
that?
about insulate UK? Ha ha, see who's right.
No, well, the problem is, I mean,
Yeah, they've not done that over here, Bruce. Over here,
No,
there's not.
but some countries have introduced that subsidy thing, and they've ended up with over capacity in solar. In Australia, they were charging you to put money back into the grid, put electricity back into the grid. They charged you to supply them with electricity because there was so much overproduction.
Yeah.
yeah. What's
Who knows
interesting
that
is
one?
as well. So I know someone that works for the National Grid, kind of thing. And everyone's saying, "Oh, solar farms are going to spring up here, there, and everywhere." The UK is broken into like sub-regions, and each one can handle a certain amount of power, and power that goes back into the grid. So if you say you want to build a certain size solar farm, you might not be able to put it in a certain part of the country because that part of the grid can't necessarily handle having it on the network. So it is quite interesting. But yeah, there should have been some sort of government loan system where you could get a whole solar battery system for 10k and you repay the government.
Over 5 years, Mark, which would have automatically paid for itself. Yeah. And that's where the shame has been. Yeah.
But then the government couldn't charge VAT on your monthly power bill, so there'd be less tax taking.
But the thing is, the old people, me, are at the back end of the 70s. They're exactly one of those subsidies after the winter of discontent. But as you two are too young to remember that, there was subsidies left, right, and centre, and they should have just kept going.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Ian, just look in the group chat just for something that might intrigue you or not. You might want to have a little nosy on there where I've just said, because you can pick up what you want very cheaply. Very cheap.
Yeah, it's the battery. Look, you've got to. The thing is, there's a lot of batteries out.
Cheap. Trust me.
Yeah, there are batteries out. Look, for me, I'd need about 10 kilowatt. The solar is probably my biggest issue. To be honest, I said to the wife, I'd be tempted just to cover the garden in it for the next 6 months, not 3 months. You know, not even worry, because you can't use your garden in winter, so I'm not even worried about putting it on the house.
Well, I ordered. It cost me 300 AliExpress. I ordered a 15 kilowatt battery set, so I've got 15 kilowatts from AliExpress for £326. Although I have to assemble the battery, I have to assemble the battery for myself. So
just remember, send your address to your local fire station.
Why?
Yes.
And,
why? A friend's done it. I have a friend, and he
15
bought
kilowatts for 300 quid.
Yeah.
You got to assemble the battery yourself, but the blades. So they come as each little cell. You know.
Yeah, but are you sure that's 15 kilowatt? That don't make sense, because how many packs is that? Because they're
32.
nominal. You what? Sorry.
32.
32, but they're only 3.2 volts each.
Yeah, but they're like 164 milliamps or 200 milliamps or something each.
200. They'll be the 200 amps. So they grade A or B cells. They're probably grade Bs, but there isn't a lot on them anyway. But if they're 200, see, when I looked, 300 quid from the batteries, that was not even getting 4 or 5 kilowatts when I was doing the math.
Yeah, it changed. There was a sudden change in China. If you go to AliExpress, I should send you the link. I should really go on your computer, get you the link, and send it to you. But yeah, and it was
interesting to see when it arrived.
No, I'm saying the same thing as on the comments. What are you smoking, Mark? Because
no, the thing is, right? People go, "What are you smoking?" This and the other. And so me and my friend, he has added 15 kilowatts to his 5 kilowatt system. He's got like 20 odd kilowatts now. He self-built the battery and bolted it onto his existing system. His cells are slightly different to mine, yes. However, we saw this, and the AliExpress deal looked good. The persons you're selling, they're not they're proper AliExpress and everything. And we just went, do you know what? For £326, it's worth a punt. You know what I mean? I'm waiting for them to arrive. If they arrive and they are what they say they are, that could be the best £300 I've spent. Yes, I still need battery management. Yes, I still need the hybrid inverter, but so what? You know,
just looking on these right now on the life. So there'll be Life PO4s.
Yeah, mine are blade versions.
Blade versions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
because everything I'm looking at with 32 cells is like $1,000 US, which look, isn't terrible. What 280 milliamp hour.
You look for 200 milliamp hour.
The problem is 200 amp hour isn't that much when you split it down into kilowatt hour.
It says just going over here. But you know, you just got to look in the right place.
Blade
I'm going to get you the
lithium-ion.
link. I'm going to go shopping myself. I'm just going to go over here to this computer and go, it's this.
We're all going to be everyone on the stream's going to be rushing out to buy them at this point.
Will be if I find the link.
I'm going to find my typical calculator I use for.
I'm sorry, something not right. I'm just looking here at a provider that sells a 5
BYD.
kilowatt.
Okay.
A 5 kilowatt and 6 pans for 6,000 euros.
1 sec. Where's my order? 1 sec.
Yeah, Bruce will make it out. Yeah, but
Hey, you know how people go around and cut the
I don't know
catalytic
how many
converters.
amp hours these are, but I've got lots of these.
I've got no idea.
Actually,
But you know how people are going around.
They work for
People are
hours
cutting
and
the
hours and
catalytic
hours.
converters. We keep crossing streams. People cut the catalytic converters out of cars to sell them to get the money because it's got platinum in them. How long before people start cutting the batteries out of Teslas?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you get lipos in the UK at the moment, Ian?
Hard, very hard to get. Very hard to get.
Yeah.
Struggling.
So this is the only option. This came out of a Model S. Quite good, really.
I think that's
No. I'll find it. 1 sec.
I'm doing the math here on 32 batteries, right? So if you went 10 in 3 series of 10. Nominal is 3.2 roughly on these, isn't it, Bruce? On Life PO4s, about 3.2.
I'm looking at a ready-made set from Huawei. 5
Oh yeah, they're
set.
big money. No, they're big money, Louis. I've looked at them before. Even the ones I was looking at are big money.
62 kilos, 600 volts on 3 phases, single phase 360 volts, 2.5 kilowatts.
What is interesting is this. I'm looking at a set, right, of 280 amp hour ones, but I've rated them at 200 amp hour. A pack of 32 is $1,000 US, right? That, if you ran them in parallel, so three strings of 10 packs would give you 32 nominal voltage, which is about right for a battery storage system. You want 39, but it's close enough. That gives us a total of 19 kilowatt hours.
Yeah. Ian, I'm telling you, the battery prices have changed. My batteries, I've just been looking, my order's still in AliExpress. However, the link, all those batteries are no longer available, that style, annoyingly.
So you'll be getting a brick in a box.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's like 19 kilowatts of energy. Now, the question is, free shipping from China. The only problem is you'll estimate to get them by March.
Yeah, but so what? If it doesn't matter if they come by March, it will take less than a year to pay for itself. In, but time
how are they even shipping them? How
Chinese
are they
sponsored.
shipping them?
Chinese sponsored, mate. It'll come by boat.
So are we renaming the stream Batteries and Sundry for 2023?
Yeah, it'll go into a bunkered warehouse, won't it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to come by ship, does it, from China? It can go on railway to Germany and then get the only ship it'll go on is across to...
Well, they could put it in a ship and in shipping containers and they'll never say what's in it anyway. If it's a Chinese-owned ship, they'll just chuck it on anyway.
And the ship will burn at sea and crash and sink anyway.
And then they'll shove it into a bunkered warehouse and then they'll shove it on a lorry in the UK.
Come on, these things are not something lightweight. I'm looking at these Huawei's battery, 62 kilos.
Yeah.
So what? Here's the thing. So what?
Postman will be upset.
Dishwasher when it's done. It'll be
a long time to put each one through the letterbox.
Well, Louis, these ones are 5 kilos each, and you can order 32 of them.
Where have you found these? Put the link in the for the people. Put the link in there.
The thing is, right? It's not your problem to get it to your house.
No.
Right? If it is that and it's free delivery, don't stress about it.
I'll put it in the private chat because I can't post in the main chat because
I bought this 50 kilowatt battery from wish.com. And
Yeah.
it came with free shipping.
You wish, you wish, Bruce.
That is interesting. They have come down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, BYD. No, not BYD.
And
Those things. Okay.
Yeah, Life PO4s. Now these are probably B grade cells,
Doesn't matter.
but
Put
yeah,
them
that much. To be honest, at 19 kilowatt, you've got enough there to sink.
But the new sodium battery changes everything.
I know, Bruce.
does.
The sodium, the sodium battery.
Yeah, but they exist. They are out there. They're not. They're not.
So-
Well,
thing
there's a
that
myriad
doesn't
of different
exist.
battery technologies, but they've all got their problems.
Just so you
Yeah.
know, I'm not as crackpot as you think I am.
I think I think you
the
are.
cost you said. Like you said,
Well,
actually
how-
only double the cost. That's US dollars. So
Well,
actually,
It's cheaper.
Only the price.
Yeah, but
232.
Then you just got to add a BMS on, Ian, and then you just got to add a hybrid inverter.
hybrid
And
inverter,
short
BMS.
That's it.
This is the stream where we watch old people using the internet.
But,
We don't get to complain. It's Christmas.
here's the thing. I know that if those batteries, say I do get the batteries, and let's say everything arrives, let's say I get it up running by June, I don't care because my solar's kicked in. But as soon as I've got the battery, I will literally be able to go off grid. But like I say, my friend, his system that he's now got is 20 odd kilowatts for his house. He did Christmas Day, full cooking, 2 ovens, air conditioning because he has it in the house anyway. He didn't touch the mains all day, and because we had some power as well, he had everything just working. He did not pay more than 15p a kilowatt all day because the batteries just kept it going. It's Why would you pay 33p a kilowatt hour?
I'm just thinking, I just need to build a steel bunker to house them in. So
No.
when they do go on fire,
So-
right?
So what he did,
What in the neighbour's house.
Yeah.
No, so here's what he did, Ian. Here's what he did. He got one of those small outdoor like lean-to shed things that you can get. Put them in there. He got a small 10-watt or something heater, just a little fan one that just keeps ticking over this time of year, just to keep the batteries like at an ambient temperature, so they never went to like minus degrees.
Yeah.
He's got a fire blanket in there, all metal shelving, and that way he knew that the house was protected. They weren't in his main house; they are outside. The absolute worst thing that can happen is they might just, if he was a fire, they might just get his granny flat roof area. They might just get that. But
But aren't these burning batteries good for heating your home in winter?
Well, yes, there is that.
Yes. Yeah.
I am
So-
at that price. I'm actually tempted. That price, I'm actually tempted.
and it would make great content for your channel.
32,000
if they ever turn
rand
up,
for
it's the big
64
problem.
of them.
64
So
is
what-
£2,000.
You only
So
need
what were you-
32.
32 is what you're going for, is
32.
it?
If I
20,000
do it,
rand.
I do 32. That would give you 2 spare for deads. To be honest, you could do with 33 because you could put 11 in each string, which would get you closer to the nominal voltage. Typically, 42 volt is roughly what battery storage systems run at. Yeah, but if you pay by PayPal, you're protected anyway. That's the interesting thing.
No, if they send you a brick, you're not. PayPal is not the protection it used to be. If you've
So
ordered
what- so
something
what-
and they sent something and there's a tracking number, it's a devil of
Yeah.
a known job to get money out of PayPal.
PayPal with a credit card. You got double protection. It's
Well-
interesting. I'm more worried how they're going to shift.
But the
10
thing is, if
10
it takes more than
batteries
90
is
days, it takes more than 90 days for it to arrive, your credit
I
card
know. Yeah, I know.
chargeback is gone.
Delivery by estimated delivery on the 4th of March. It's not bad, is it?
Do it. Do it.
Estimated.
What's the pricing of Life PO4s in the UK? Life
Don't look at it. It's scary.
PO4 UK.
I should do this. I should have presented.
Pay with
this
crypto.
Pay with
Don't even go there.
absolutely.
I wanted to sell my crypto to buy the laptop I've ordered, and that was a disappointed look when I went in and had a look at how low my Bitcoin now is. That was
And you
worth
were so-
1,300 quid at one point. All
Yeah.
that I mined everything I mined, so it didn't cost. Well, it cost me energy, but it didn't cost me physically money.
So my friend John bought that version of the battery, but not 280 amp hours. So I think he got the 200 amp hour version of that battery.
Well, which is probably 140 amp hour version of whatever battery, but
Yeah.
His is the one that's now he's now running his house basically just about
4th of March. It arrived with me as well.
That's right. Fogstar I was looking at. A single cell with Fogstar is a 280 amp hour grade A, which is because you've got grade A and grade B cells, 150 quid a pack. So 10 would be 1,500, 30 would be, $5,000 basically.
So how do we know whether we're selecting 12, 24 or 48? Where's that?
You want 32. Go back up. So you just choose there what you want, how many you want.
No, but then what voltage are we getting out of it?
The 3.2 is nominals, so you just stack them to get the voltage.
Oh, that's why they're putting 12, 24, 48. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Grade B cells in the UK. Now, grade B are cells that don't quite have the same capacity. Life PO4s. Have they actually got any grade Bs now?
Do they have any kind of spec for what constitutes a grade B?
Yeah, what they said is life-wise, it took a bit of life off it. It wasn't shocking, if I'm honest. It really wasn't terrible.
Well, you didn't have enough in series then if it wasn't shocking.
It wasn't sure. Explosion-proof valve.
Yeah. So if they go, they have
the battery may explode, but the valve won't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find on their blog which says what our blog
cures all known
I read it
diseases.
before. What they said was grade A and grade B, and I think it wasn't dramatic. Grade A's have a
certificates. I never knew that MSDS was a certificate.
Here we go. Difference between grade A and B.
Here we are. It's a start transfer on Hong Kong. Oh, you've got to pay your import duties.
Have you?
Once bachelorized in Europe, US will declare for import European US customs. It costs a fortune here.
That's interesting because I keep getting a UPS thing to. Oh. But I think it's a scam because I go to look at my UPS and I keep getting an email from UPS package XYZ. But yeah, don't believe
Is it those scam texts and things, is it?
But
I click here.
you also have the same guys also sell 320 amp hours batteries.
Have a different label on them, do they?
Yeah. Yes, it's UPS.
Yeah, the one with 320 on it.
You see, you get UPS and an IPS. Do you see that on the email?
Yeah.
So I don't trust it.
Yeah, they won't be grade A's, that's for sure. Because grade A's are not cheap. In the UK, grade A's are.
So what? If you lost 2 years off them, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, no, you are right. If you could, to be honest, at a battery cost of say £700, if you got 1 year out of it, you could potentially still be quids in the UK right now with energy pricing. Even if you got 12 months out of a set, you could still, with UK energy pricing as high as it is, you could actually still win. Just
steal an Nissan Leaf. They've got that two-way battery connection.
I'm just not convinced how you're easily going to get 150 kilos worth of batteries into the UK. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot.
Why is Sean referring to waterboarding? Yes.
I'm looking forward.
That's why Mark is moving out to the drone delivery business.
Yes.
Look, we've been going for 2 hours and 18 minutes.
And most of that was talking about setting fire
batteries.
to...
No, it was batteries. Yeah. Little fire starters.
I'm just saying, cool cat, I'm in South Africa, and then we had better go. You're right, bro. So we have definitely gone into
It's summer here. It's not like you people up north frozen in. I can go do some flying.
Well, I'm not at home, so I have to go because it means I've kept someone up a bit late tonight.
Fair enough.
Oh, so it's not your
Ladies
birthday then?
He's broke into someone's
Boys
house.
and girls.
I have.
He's broken
It's the
into
baby
someone's
Jesus
house.
house. It's the baby
Somebody's having
Jesus
a
house.
birthday. Somebody's having a birthday. And he's
Someone's
broken into
tied
their
up in the
house.
background. He was walking down the street, kicked some
It was
door
my
in.
birthday. It was my birthday. And he's nicked all the presents. So there we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, wherever you might be in the world, have a wonderful new year. Be safe. As ever, we have not complied
don't be
with what we
sensible.
said. Don't be
There's
sensible.
no room for
no.
sensible.
We've not done what we said we'd do and have a review of everything, but that's as you know, it says. Thank you very much for the regulator who arrived at the comments and will be here next week, I hope, along with Richard. We shall see. We shall see at 2100 GMT next Tuesday. Look after yourselves. Be careful, everyone out there. See you next week. Cheers for now. Thanks, chaps. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Two